Okay, first of all, I wanted to start by saying congratulations on the album.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely fantastic. It's got sort of typical sort of thrash influences there, but with a modern twist.
Thank you.
What about the album cover itself? Is it linked to a particular track, or how did that come about?
It wasn't. I don't think it was specified for a particular track. It's actually, that was something that Danny had worked on with an artist, and that was just kind of his conceptual idea and design. And Danny is also a tattoo artist in Australia, so he's more of the artistic one as far as drawing and things like that. And it's whatever it was just something that was a reflection of whatever he was thinking at the time that would be great for the Mesiac record. But as far as any particular song, Danny may have a different answer, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't have a particular meaning towards the song.
Okay, the press release uses the term supergroup. I just wondered how that term rests with you personally, or is it typical PR?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how I got coined that in the first place. I know that Danny was in a band, the band Forearm, and Dean currently has another band called Terramaze. I think maybe because those bands do fairly well in their home country, maybe that's where the phrase got coined as a supergroup because of the involvement of them and their bands, and then obviously me with the bands that I've worked with. So but me personally, I don't look at it as a supergroup. Mesiac is a band. Yeah. And it's not a project. It's not a collaboration. It's a band. We're all four members, and we're just four guys that are trying to make great music that we really enjoy playing, and we hope that everyone else will enjoy it as well.
How did you come to hook up with the other guys?
Well, it started with a gentleman by the name of Chris Merrick, who I was introduced to in Australia back in 2013 when I was performing with Slayer and Anthrax at the Soundwave Festival in Australia. And Chris was a publicist for Soundwave, and he was also a friend of Danny's. So after I had the chance to meet Chris during that tour, about 6 months later, Chris had contacted me and told me that Danny had this new band going on and was trying to put a band together and really wanted me to be involved with it. So, Danny, at first I was reluctant because of the distance.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like you just jump in the car and be right over.
Yeah.
That's I think Australia, for me, I'm in San Diego, California, so Australia is almost as far away as you can get for trying to put a band together. So initially I had kind of just passed on the idea. But, I did eventually speak to Danny. He was a really cool guy, and then we had a great conversation on the phone, and I said, okay, well, why don't you send over some demos? Let me check it out. And they were all really rough ideas with rough drum ideas and things like that. But the one song that really stood out for me was Alliance of Thieves. That was the first song that I had ever heard. Yeah. Demo-wise from the band. And in particular, what stood out for me was the very ending of Alliance of Thieves, where Danny actually uses a singing voice and sings, and that really caught my attention because I was like, wow, this guy has a versatility and a range to him, and in my mind, completely opened the door of this being just a band with some screaming vocals to a band that really could explore a lot of new territory. So, but going back to your original question, I mean, we were introduced by Chris Merrick, and that's how it kind of, the initial talks started. But, you know, the long story short is it eventually worked out to where I signed on, and I was originally just going to do the album, you know, because I hadn't met Dean, I hadn't met Nick. You don't really say you're going to join a band with, at least in my mind, you're not going to join a band without at least meeting guys.
Yeah, sure.
Jamming some songs together to see how it feels.
Yeah.
So I originally signed on to do the album only, and but the guys felt so strongly about my involvement, which was really awesome. They all flew from Australia to California.
Right.
To be involved with the drum tracking process and pre-production, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah.
You know, at the time it didn't seem necessary, but I'm so glad that it happened that way because, you know, as I like to say, we all went into the studio to make a record, and we came out of that studio as a band. And because during that process was where, one, musically the songs just came to life once the drums started going on these arrangements, and two, we all had a chance to actually hang out and bond and you know, discover that we're all, you know, we all enjoy kind of the same things, and we all just get along great. And I felt like I just immediately you know, made 3 new friends for life, and you know, it was a really great experience. Tracking, you know, creating the drums and tracking the drums in those 2.5 weeks that we had, and you know, so that's really where Mesiac was in my mind was truly born, because when we left that studio in Oakland, we were at that point that's when we were officially a band.
Okay. What about the name itself? Is it an actual word, or is it something that has been invented by you guys?
Oh, you know. So Mesiac is, it means Messiah,
right?
Hebrew.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't really seem, I don't know, the name Messiah just seems to, you know, it just seems like if you call the band Messiah, they're like, you know, I've heard that name used before.
Yeah.
Whatever. But giving a twist on it, you know, the first time that Danny came up with the name, by the way, and the first time he said it to me, I said, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And he said exactly what I said to you. Well, it means Messiah in Hebrew, and after I said it a couple of times, and I asked him, I said, am I saying this correctly? You know, I think it really adds to the uniqueness of the band.
Yeah.
It's one of those names that initially, I think we'll have to, you know, educate people to a certain degree.
Certainly.
To, you know, let them know how to say the name properly and all of that. But I think once people get it, it's one of those names that they won't forget, and it really stands out. You know, it has a uniqueness to it, which is what I really enjoyed about the name.
Sure. You've highlighted the Alliance of Thieves track from the album. Just wondered if you could maybe pick another one that stands out for you that has a particular memory, maybe of the songwriting, the actual recording process. Is there anything else that you can maybe pick off the album?
Well, they all have a story in and of itself. You know, it's funny. There's actually there's a song called "I Am Among You."
Yeah.
It's the second or third track on the record.
Actually, the third one. I have actually been fortunate enough to hear the album. It's track 3.
Yeah. It is the third track on the record. "I Am Among You."
Yeah.
There's a middle section in the song. So the song kind of starts off as this groovy, heavy, you know, it's got loud, aggressive vocals, and then about halfway through the song, it just takes a left turn and gets into this even groovier halftime thing, and the vocals, you know, Danny again shows what he can do singing-wise vocally. But then it goes into this melodic piece before the solo, and I came up with a hi-hat pattern, that's just this, whatever. It's just something more than just keeping a 4/4 time, but it's got a pattern to it. But once I kicked in with the regular half time to kick in the snare, it was a challenging part for me. I heard it, I was like, God, this would be a great hi-hat piece, but the independence between the hi-hat and the kick and the snare, it took a little. You would think that it would be more like a double bass thing that would be challenging or a drum fill, but that, as funny or ironic as it sounds, that was the most challenging part for me to get down correctly. Was getting that hi-hat work that I was doing with that kick and snare. So, that's one that stands out. Another track that stands out is the fourth track on the record, Drowning, Fading, Falling.
Yeah, that's a single, isn't it?
Well, it's not so much a single, but it was the first song that we actually released as a video footage that we had done while tracking drums in Oakland. But that was the first song that I had actually tracked for the record because it was the song that I gravitated towards the most. So, it just, overall it was it's just a fun, great song. And then, like I said, every song has something to it on the record, but, in particular, those three tracks would stand out as something memorable.
Okay.
That I just heard.
Yep, your drumming CV is certainly very impressive. There's lots of familiar names there to myself from the thrash musical genre. One thing that's actually surprisingly on there was your movie score that you did with Stuart Copeland. I just wondered, bearing that in mind, if there are any other sort of musical genres outside what you do with the metal, rock, the thrash thing that you would consider working with, something different.
Well, I mean, I just, I'll always look at, something new and unique. That Stuart Copeland thing, it happened so last minute, and I had to do it just because Stuart Copeland's one of my all-time drum idols. Yeah. And, it's funny we're talking hi-hat work. I mean, Stuart Copeland's hi-hat work in particular is, to this day, is just, I listen to songs from the Police and just go, man, it's just the things that he does is incredible. But it wouldn't matter if he was doing a country song, I would, just the fact that it was him and he asked for me to work with him on a composure. How do you say no to that? Yeah, sure. So I don't know. It really, I guess, it would just depend on the artist and the project, and I'm never going to say no to anything. People crack jokes sometimes. They'll say, God, it'd be, what would it be like to see you play, for Lady Gaga? Yeah. Or Madonna. I can see it. Yeah. I would never rule something like that out. It wouldn't be because of a sellout thing. It was just because it would be adding a vibe and an output to something that I think would be compatible. Yeah, it's a different challenge, isn't it? It would definitely be a different challenge. Step out of my comfort zone. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't try and necessarily play a different style. I am what I am. And I've said this before. I'm not a country drummer. I'm not a blues drummer. I'm not a jazz drummer. I'm a heavy metal drummer. Yeah. And it's not to say that I won't explore out of that realm, but that's what I am, and that's what I enjoy playing. Yeah. So anything else I'm going to do, including the Stuart Copeland stuff, it's going to be my style. Yeah. Thrown, it'll diversify a little bit. It'll, for whatever the situation is. But at the end of the day, that element is always going to be present. Yeah, sure. I don't think I could ever, jump into something and just start playing some shuffle beat, with a single kick. I could. Yeah. But I don't want it. Yeah, sure. Okay, returning to Mesiac,
You've said it's going to be a band rather than a one-off musical project. I just wondered, I mean, obviously those songs deserve to be played for a live audience. I just wondered if you had maybe tour dates lined up.
Well, we're working on that at the moment. Right now, we're looking to try and get on the road either at the end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah.
So we're currently looking at several different tours that we can try and be a part of, with the focus being that Mesiac would go out as a support band for a larger artist.
Yeah.
So we're currently looking at some tour packages that are being presented to us right now, and seeing which ones will work and which ones are going to be most appropriate for us. But absolutely, you could certainly expect to see Mesiac out on the road either by the end of 2016 or early 2017, and that will, it will either be in the States or Europe first, I would assume, but certainly Australia, Japan, South America will all be included in that at some point next year.
Okay. That's great. Thank you very much for chatting to me.